Do you have high triglycerides? Want to know how to lower them? In this video, I'm going to tell you 18 natural tips that really work to reduce triglycerides. This is a very satisfying topic for me because with these tips, I know that you will have a much better chance of success in your triglyceride reduction treatment because they really work and are natural tips. I'm not telling you to stop taking any medicine that your doctor prescribed. That's not it. But with this information, your chance of success will be very high as long as you follow these 18 steps or 18 tips that I'll tell you. First, I'll explain what triglycerides are. Triglycerides are a type of fat. Another type of fat that is also very well known is cholesterol. Cholesterol and triglycerides are a little different because we use triglycerides as an energy store. When you're fasting and you wake up to start your day, your body uses triglycerides as its primary energy source. When you go to the gym and do weight training, for example, your body can also use triglycerides. So, our first energy storage is triglycerides. And when you start accumulating the storage, start eating a lot of calories, a lot of food items that I will mention here. Your body starts storing, and our liver also stores this in the form of triglycerides. That's where the problem arises. So, what is the normal value of triglycerides? It's up to 150. If you haven't fasted, this value changes. Then the normal would be up to 175. It varies a bit, but ideally, if you can, it's better to fast as a lot of values align with fasting. So why is it important to monitor your triglycerides? What's the purpose of this? What benefits will you get from maintaining a good triglycerides value? First of all, triglycerides are also a risk factor for heart diseases like heart attacks and stroke. High triglycerides increase the risk of these diseases, which we used to only attribute to cholesterol, especially the bad one, LDL. Now we also know that triglycerides are a risk factor, but there's another caveat here. When they're significantly increased, especially above 1,000, they're also a risk factor, and they increase the chance of having inflammation in the pancreas, known as acute pancreatitis. And how do you discover if you have high triglycerides? Only through blood tests. There's a blood test named triglycerides, and with this test, we can determine if it's high or not. There are some signs on the body like xanthelasmas and xanthomas, but they're present in only a minority of people. So wait until you have one of these symptoms before you really go for the test. Triglycerides testing should be done periodically along with routine tests. And now, how to reduce triglycerides? What are these 18 steps? Step number 1, and very important, avoid sugary drinks or sweetened beverages, such as chocolate sodas, even pure fruit juices like apple juice, grape juice, orange juice, pineapple juice, mango juice. Why? When you make a juice, you remove the fiber, like in the case of orange, which is a good fruit, but you're removing its fiber and leaving only the fluid, which has a higher glycemic index, which will raise your blood sugar more and also has a higher amount of carbohydrates, of sugar. So even if you don't put sugar in your orange juice or your grape juice, it naturally already has a glycemic load, a certain amount of sugars, and also has a higher glycemic index because of the removal of the fiber. So avoid sugary drinks, chocolate drinks, and also fruit juices. Does this apply to all fruits? There are some juices that are good, for example, lemon juice, passion fruit juice. Why? When you make a lemon juice, you greatly reduce the juice of the fruit, and the lemon already has a reduced amount of carbohydrates. It is a fruit that has a lower glycemic index as well, and you're going to dilute that juice on top of that. That's why lemon juice is an exception to this rule that I'm talking about here in number 1. And number 2, also very important, avoid simple carbohydrates such as breads, cakes, pasta. Why? because simple carbohydrates will serve as a source for you to store them in the form of triglycerides. So it's very important that you take care with these foods. There was a video where I talked about bread, that they weren't forbidden. I even defended bread in this video, but it's an exception here. I'm speaking specifically to those who are working on managing their triglycerides. In this case, it makes sense for you to reduce, even avoid consuming bread, especially white bread made with white flour. Other foods like rice, which contain a lot of starch, can break down into starch during digestion and can also be stored as triglycerides. Some vegetables, like corn, are also high in starch, and those managing triglycerides should be cautious. I'm not saying that corn is not healthy. It's not like that. This video is specifically for those who want to lower their triglycerides, and corn can indeed be a factor that increases your triglycerides, okay? Number 3, remove processed sugar. Do you put sugar in your coffee, for example? So if you're managing triglycerides, you should remove the sugar. There's no refined sugar at home. That's going to prevent you from using it. But I can't drink coffee without sugar. Can I put sweetener? That's a question you guys ask directly. You always write it in the comments. Yes, you can put sweetener, no problem. You can put a natural sweetener, for example, like stevia, xylitol, erythritol. Natural sweeteners aren't bad for your health. Don't be scared. I know there are some videos saying that natural sweeteners, and also the artificial ones, any kind of sweetener, at least a bit sweet, could raise your blood sugar, have an insulin spike. That's absurd, okay? Don't believe those videos. Always check the sources. Go research, and then you'll see there's no scientific basis, okay? Natural sweeteners aren't bad for your health. If you can't entirely give up sugar, or like your food a bit sweeter, you'll have a better sweetener than adding refined sugar, which will indeed increase your triglycerides. You should avoid other types of sugar, such as brown sugar, you should also avoid. Well, in practical terms, for triglycerides, it makes no difference whether it's refined sugar or brown sugar, okay? Or powdered sugar. These sugars, in a practical sense, they are equivalent when it comes to triglycerides. Number 4, beware of foods in oil, such as canned fish in oil. Opt for natural foods. Fish in oil are good. You don't need to put more oil or then buy it with oil, because you will significantly increase the calories. Usually you find the fish in oil and the natural fish on the same shelf at the same price. So give preference to natural foods. Sometimes I go to a restaurant, order a dish, and it's swimming in oil. Many people overdo it, especially with olive oil, because they think it's healthy. But for olive oil to have cardiovascular benefits, for example, you only need 7 milliliters a day, and there are studies that demonstrate its benefits. 7 milliliters. Often you'll get a food or dish that has considerably more than that. What's the problem? You'll be getting an excess of calories and fats, which are good, but too much can worsen the entire metabolic situation. So favor natural foods. A classic example is fish, which for the same price provides fewer calories and is healthier. Number 5. Don't worry, I'll tell you which ones are the best. I'm first listing the foods you should avoid because in many cases of diseases and conditions like triglycerides, the best way to improve is by avoiding certain foods entirely. So that's why I'm starting with what you need to avoid, but there are then foods that don't increase these problems and are good for you. So don't worry, you won't be left starving. That's not the aim of this video. Number 5, be cautious of fruits with a high glycemic load and index, like for instance, mangoes, bananas, and grapes. These fruits are healthy, but if you're managing your triglycerides, you should moderate and choose fruits with a lower glycemic index. I'll talk more about these fruits in the better portion of the video, let's say the allowed ones. But these fruits I've noted here can disrupt this process, mainly if you consume them in excess. I'm going to discuss the best fruits for this situation, who is managing their triglycerides. But those fruits that I spoke about, if you can avoid them or replace them, you will be making a good deal for the reduction. Number 6, be careful with beer. Beer can increase your triglycerides because besides the carbs, alcohol also provides calories. Just to give you an idea, 1 gram of alcohol has 7 kilocalories, 1 gram of sugar has 4, so alcohol has almost double the calories than sugar. It's very important if you're taking care of your triglycerides that you quit drinking beer. I'm talking about beer, but other alcoholic drinks like vodka, whiskey, you should also quit because they can significantly increase triglycerides. Number 7, beware of processed meats. You know that pizza you buy in a box from the grocery store and that burger? Foods that have a lot of preservatives, like sausages, such as salami, copa, salamito, Parma ham, turkey breast. These foods, besides having preservatives like nitrates and nitrites, which have been linked to an increased risk of bowel cancer, the risk of cervical cancer, you should cut down on your consumption. If possible, avoid them because they also increase triglycerides. Well then, processed meats, ultra-processed foods, not only because of the triglycerides, but for your health as well. And number 8, and the last item to avoid, are saturated fats like coconut oil, lard. That's right, lard is not healthy. Neither is coconut oil, because they are saturated fats, and saturated fats have already been linked to increased risk of cardiovascular disease. So it's very important that you avoid coconut oil, for example, and also butter and margarine. Which other foods are high in saturated fats? Fatty meats, also bacon. Have you ever heard that animal fat isn't harmful to humans? That's one of the big lies, okay? Saturated fat, whether plant-based or from animals, is indeed harmful, and scientific studies show that, okay? So don't believe these lies on the internet. And now, how are we going to reduce triglycerides? There are other ways to avoid these foods that I discussed. But what are other healthy foods and habits? Before I begin this list, I want to ask you to like this video. Let's set a goal of 18,000 likes. There are 18 tips, so it's only fair that we get 18,000 likes so that the system understands that this video is relevant and will distribute it to more people. And tip number 9 about physical exercise. If you have high triglycerides, it is very important that you do physical activity, because you saw in the function of the triglycerides that our body ends up using them as a form of energy. When you exercise, when you go for a walk, a run, or do weightlifting, your body uses the triglycerides. Consequently, you can reduce them very effectively by doing physical activity. And how much physical activity do I need to do? At least 150 minutes per week. This divided into 3 or more days. So 50 minutes 3 times a week, or 30 minutes 5 times a week. That's better for you, but it's very important that you don't do all 150 minutes in one day. Those are called weekend athletes, okay? Then you may even have an increased cardiovascular risk, okay? So divide it into 3 or more times so that you can have these benefits of reducing cardiovascular risk and also lowering triglycerides. Do this as long as you can. I really like to walk. I also go to the gym. I've done running. And you, what kind of physical activity do you do? Write it here in the comments and also include your city. I want to know which part of the world and which city you're watching from. Number 10, add good fats such as walnuts, chestnuts, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts. I like macadamia nuts a lot. What about you? You can also find good fats in avocados and olive oil itself. Just remember the amount I mentioned. Fish, especially fish with omega-3, as is the case with salmon, tuna, other fish such as sardines, herring. Consume the fish that you have available, and you will also be making a good deal. Even if it doesn't have a lot of omega-3, or if it doesn't have omega-3 at all, it will be a source of lean protein and will also help you in this process of reducing triglycerides. Number 11, add fruits with a low glycemic index. Did you see that I talked about the fruits that had the highest amount of sugar? So what are the fruits that are good for those with high triglycerides? Guava, strawberry, orange with pulp, peach, plum, avocado, cherry, lemon. These are great fruits for you if you have high triglycerides, because they won't raise your blood sugar. You won't stock up on those carbs unless you eat a lot of strawberries. But then too much of anything is bad. But these fruits are healthy. They provide antioxidants, vitamins, minerals. If you have high triglycerides, you should include them in your diet. Number 12. Vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, eggplant, radish, cucumber. Vegetables are excellent if you have high triglycerides because in addition to vitamins, they also have fiber that helps in this process. There are soluble fibers and insoluble fibers. They play slightly different roles, but if you consume vegetables, you'll be doing good for your health, not just for your gut, which will work better, but also if you are taking care of cholesterol, blood fats, and triglycerides. Fundamental here. There are some vegetables that have a lot of starch. Do you remember when I talked about corn? So, what are some other examples? The potato, ordinary potato, for example. Yams are another vegetable that can also somewhat harm in this specific issue of triglycerides, but as a general rule, vegetables are great and you should certainly eat them. Number 13, incorporate fiber, seeds, or whole grains. Here I'm going to give two examples that I'm really fond of, which are chia seeds, and flax seeds too. Why? Chia and flaxseed assist with satiety. As a result, you might eat lesser, become more satisfied. It has this role of helping with the fats in our blood, our cholesterol, our triglycerides. It reduces the glycemic index of your meals, or say you're going to eat a fruit, sprinkle some chia, you'll enhance it and reduce the glycemic index. This is a really interesting tip, and also it's a very simple and easy way for you to meet the minimum amount of fiber you need daily. Other whole grains are interesting too, but I'm going to focus on these two, where it's so simple for you to add chia to a meal, say, or pop chia in yogurt or fruit. I really like it. I use it every day. I prefer chia. I'm not a big fan of flaxseed. Let me know your thoughts here, and if you can share a recipe too, write it down and I'll appreciate it. I always like to know. I really enjoy using it in yogurt. I've said that here before, so share your thoughts. Number 14, whenever you have a high triglycerides diagnosis, other diseases and related metabolic changes should be evaluated, like in this case, the thyroid change. Hypothyroidism can affect triglycerides. So, for you who always had normal triglycerides and made no changes to your diet, weight, or exercise routine, pay attention to your thyroid. Ask your doctor to review how it's doing because hypothyroidism can raise your triglyceride levels. This is a very interesting tip. Also, if your triglycerides increased, you need to know your blood pressure. Are you suffering from high blood pressure? How about your blood sugar levels? The presence of other diseases should always be evaluated. Moreover, if there's no known cause, it's fascinating for the doctor to find this cause because then the treatment becomes much easier by treating the cause of the change. There are some cases where the patient has a genetic predisposition, a condition termed as familial hypertriglyceridemia. You won't always deal with hormonal changes or have another connected disease because this genetic predisposition exists. Number 15, weight management. Many studies have already demonstrated this benefit for triglycerides. And how much would it be? A 5% weight reduction could lead to a significant improvement in triglycerides. And here I'm talking percentages because it's very difficult and variable to say 2 kilograms or 3 kilograms is better to speak in percentages. So a 5% weight reduction would already be sufficient to improve triglycerides. And also other metabolic issues such as liver fat, diabetes, high blood sugar, and even a weight reduction can enhance blood pressure levels. So, if you have high blood pressure, it's really important that you control this and also focus on weight reduction. 16. Our 16th tip Look, we're almost done. And this one is about eating eggs. You always question if it's good or bad to eat eggs. It's good. It's actually great. 1 or 2 eggs a day with both yolk and white. You don't need to remove the yolk, contrary to what many people believe, because egg fat is healthy fat, which will not only provide vitamins, but vitamins for our eyes and memory. Egg protein is excellent protein. It can assist with metabolic issues, all right? Since you'll have to limit other sources like processed meats, sometimes you're getting some protein from these foods, so choose eggs. And tip number 17, add other lean protein sources such as chicken. And it's very important if you're eating chicken to remove the skin because it's loaded with saturated fats. But chicken, like chicken breast, for example, chicken breast fillet plus fish, which I already mentioned, chicken is a great source of protein, as are eggs, since you'll have to avoid some ultra-processed and processed foods. So swap it for a good protein, like chicken. Number 18, avoid fad diets. Those restrictive diets you find on the internet, for instance, because that will slow your health journey. In a short period of time, you might even lose weight. You start to get excited, but as you severely restrict, only drinking this tea, only eating that, in the long run, you won't be able to keep it up. That's the problem, because so many people lose weight only to gain it all back. So approach this process in a sustainable way. Slowly seek help. Look for a nutritionist to create a proper meal plan for you. And forget about crazy diets. There are no miracles, no substances, no false promises that will really help you, especially in the short term, okay? So don't even consider those restrictive and crazy diets that you find on the internet. On a scale of 0 to 10, what rating do you give this video? If it's 10, I'll make more videos like this. Then let me know if you really follow these tips. Write in the comments if it helped you, because your chance of success will be much higher, right? And also write from which part of the world you're watching this video, which city, which country you belong to. Let me know. I'm speaking from Porto Alegre. Now I'm going to suggest a video for you to watch. It's a video I made about cucumbers. Did you know that cucumbers have several benefits? One of them you already know can help control triglycerides, but there are many others. It will be a very interesting video. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. If you like these videos about health, click here and you'll be directed to the video about the cucumber. Hugs. See you next time.